Good morning, good morning, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, my friend. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Missed you last week.
It felt weird having a week off, didn't it?
It did feel weird. I'm like looking forward to this. Sometimes getting up early in the
Granted,
morning.
it was filled up, so there was other things going on, but just that week of not talking about a book was a little strange.
It was, and it was weird not having to rush through a book.
Yeah, true.
Did
Especially
you?
I'm glad that we picked a shorter, like quick read. Also, it was nice to kind of just casually get through it.
Yeah, I basically took a week off and just read it this week on a normal schedule.
Yeah, and you could do this one on just a normal week.
Yeah, we'll get into that, but let's get into the book. I think there's a lot to talk about this book, and then we'll touch on a couple fantasy and giants and other nonsense and
awesome.
Christmas at the end. Okay, this week we read Going Infinite by Michael Lewis, published in 2023. Going Infinite, The Rise and Fall of a New Tycoon by Michael Lewis delves into the story of Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of the cryptocurrency exchange FTX, and the dramatic collapse of his company. Lewis, known for his investigative storytelling in books like The Big Short and Moneyball, takes readers behind the scenes of FTX's meteoric rise and subsequent fall that led to one of the most significant financial scandals in recent history. The book focuses on a complex world of cryptocurrency and the enigmatic figure of Bankman-Fried, who positioned himself as a brilliant, altruistic tech mogul, promising to use his wealth for good while simultaneously running a highly risky and opaque business. Lewis examines FBS's journey from a math whiz and trader at Jane Street to the founder of FTX, his relationships with influential figures, and the culture of the crypto industry that enabled such a dramatic collapse.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary.
Yeah, I included a longer summary because this touches on a lot of things. For a short book, this rips through subjects.
Yes, and it's
almost too fast.
It's such a short time frame. I mean, we're talking about this ended in 2023. He wrote the book in 2023, and the total time period before that was a handful of years.
Yeah,
meteoric rise and fall is accurate here with how fast and swift it was.
It was. I don't think he should take a couple paragraphs to be like, this guy made so much money so fast.
There was not even hints. But the numbers were just like imaginary numbers when they were talking about tens of billions and hundreds of millions daily. It's just, it's mind-boggling to try and put anything in a normal life in comparison to that.
Yeah, it's he quits Jane Street, goes out to California, starts Alameda Research, and then that does pretty well because they just arbitrage different crypto prices across countries, and then starts FTX, and then it feel like months later he was a billionaire.
Seems like it. Yeah.
I wish there was a little bit more in those. How did those months go?
Well, I was impressed by how much detail he even got. Like I thought Michael Lewis didn't. First off, I haven't read any of his books in a while. I don't even remember the last one, but it's like years ago. He's exceptional at what he does in terms of getting a subject. Reading this book, I was like, oh, that's why I like Moneyball, the book, better than the movie, and Blindside, the book, better than the movie, because he is very, very good at diving into a subject. I couldn't believe how much information, how much detail he got about this. They're like, SBF is still, I believe right now, still in jail, and the company just like finished bankruptcy or is still going through bankruptcies. This is all super, super fresh, where the regulators are still trying to find out information. I bet you they use this book for some of it.
Well, he was embedded with SBF and John Ray, the CEO who took over from the bankruptcy lawyers.
How so? How so embedded?
He talks about it in the book. He was following SBF and saying,
for the purposes of like documentary purposes.
Correct.
Yes. Oh yeah. But that's even what I'm saying. Like I can't believe he was. I can't believe they were doing this book or this research at the time.
Yeah, it was supposed to be on the rise.
It's amazing. It was like,
yeah, I mean, he's the luckiest. I mean, this subject matter is right up Michael Lewis's alley, and he must have been like, I have an absolute gold mine out of my hands when the collapse happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Because even before the collapse happened, he probably was still going to hit it big. Because at that time, SBF was a darling out there.
Mhm.
Everybody loved him. Everybody wanted to know him. Everyone wanted to be with him. And Michael Lewis is getting this information that nobody else was getting.
That's what I had a little bit of an issue with. When the event shifts and the collapse happens, I don't think Michael Lewis shifts with the events.
Keep going with that. What do you mean?
So do you know the narrative surrounding this book?
No.
Lewis went too easy on Sam Bankman-Fried, according to a lot of critics of this book.
I mean, is it his job to go hard?
I took a couple notes, so we'll get into this. Los Angeles Times columnist Michael Hislick called the book a textbook on the imperative need to approach a subject with a healthy helping of skepticism. Michael, the book reviewer, asserts, does not exercise any of that skepticism.
I mean, so they're trying to say that SBF is more of a villain than Michael Lewis made him out to be.
Correct. Exactly.
So I kind of agree with Michael Lewis. I don't really think he's that much of a villain.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think he's like this criminal mastermind. I think he's this loser kid who came into this unbelievable wealth and just kind of, as the kids say nowadays, just kind of YOLO'd it.
I thought you would absolutely hate SBF.
If I was in a room with him, we would probably like not even have a conversation, and like, you know, we would probably stay on the other side of the room. But in terms of hating him, no, I kind of feel nothing for it in terms of, do I feel pity for him? No, definitely not pity for him. But yeah, it just seems to me like he was the kid that didn't have any friends, who could have turned into a million other like really bad things, but instead he just became super smart, found a glitch in the system, took advantage of it, and then it got way over his head and he didn't handle it well.
You don't think the whole effective altruism thing was a complete hoax?
I feel like it could be. Effective altruism just as a theory could be a big hoax. But then again,
his practice of it.
His use of it, meaning taking other people's money and assuming it was for these effective altruism purposes.
Or saying make as much money as possible and then give it away and have as much effect on the world, and how he approaches life in that way.
I mean, in theory, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, in theory, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in practice.
In practice, you could make the case he was not an effective altruist.
Yeah, he's flying private jets and living in penthouses in Bahamas.
Yeah, I mean, but relatively speaking, how much money was that actually compared to the amount of money he was giving away or making or potentially giving away?
Correct. But you kind of have to walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk. I thought you would hate this guy. This is like you're totally a walk the walk. If you're going to.
So it's not that I don't think he's, you know, a saint or somebody to look up to or anything like that. But yeah, I just think he's such a, again, I don't pity him. I just feel like this is like the loser kid that you have in like your second grade class who you just kind of feel bad for because he doesn't have any friends. And part of it is because it does it to himself. Like, you know, it doesn't make an effort to be friends with other people, doesn't try to get out there.
But you also hate, like, as it's an admirable quality, like when someone's being negligent or irresponsible, I would say you're the best one of correcting and helping. Like, he is so negligent and irresponsible that's antithesis to your character.
He is so negligent and irresponsible in game world, though.
In game world,
like the crypto world that he created, that he lived in, that this is like video game. Like, it's not real life to make coins and all of a sudden get billions of dollars. That's this like game world that was created.
But it was real people's money.
Yeah, I get that. I also think other people probably need to like take a look at themselves in the mirror and be like, you know what, that probably wasn't the best thing I put my money into. Or you could make the case of somebody like I don't know, one of the promoters, like Tom Brady. Like, did I really need that extra $50 million to get in bed and do the commercials for this? Maybe not. But at the time,
Major League Baseball doing no due diligence.
Major League Baseball putting it on their umpires who are supposed to be like unbiased, pure. Like, we can't even have computers do this because we need the human element.
Literally calling balls and strikes.
Major League Baseball and Miami's arena, right? Wasn't the FTX arena for like a year?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can separate this out where again, I don't pity him. He just seems like this. He seems like a kid. It's like, how can you get really mad at like a kindergartner for drawing outside the lines or something like that?
I went into this book because I read, there was a Michael Lewis podcast accompanying the release of this book.
Okay.
I listened to that maybe for a couple episodes, but I obviously, when Michael Lewis comes out with a new book, it catches my eye because he's such a prolific writer and he's a famous author. So when this book came out, I definitely wanted to know what was going on with it. And it was a huge story, a huge financial story at the time. So I listened to the podcast, intending to read the book, never got around to it until now. But I went into this book thinking I was going to absolutely hate Sam Bankman-Fried. And he's an absolute fraud, shiesty, puts on this act of wearing the Carter shorts and sloppy T-shirts to be like the new age Mark Zuckerberg. But even because remember when the narrative around Zuckerberg was that he wears sweatshirts to meetings and that he's like a frumpy college guy, but he lucked into Facebook.
Yeah, I think people call him a robot. Like he's not even human. He's like an alien or a robot or something like that.
Yeah, I actually think Sam Bankman-Fried might be a robot. Like, I
would say he fits that more so than Zuckerberg does.
Yes.
I think Zuckerberg is married still.
Yeah, he's married.
Just reading this about Sam Bankman-Fried, I don't think another human being could tolerate the way he goes about things to even have any type of relationship.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely going to be an act. Like
he couldn't be a board. I don't think he could be the chairman of a company with like public investors and things like that. There's no way.
No. Remember Elizabeth Holmes, the Theranos CEO, who always wore the black turtleneck and like changed her voice so she could kind of emulate Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
I thought this guy was putting on an act. He's actually like neurodivergent or something.
Putting on an act? Yeah. I mean, he definitely leaned into his persona maybe a bit more, but at the same time, I don't know if he really was. I think he's just a really weird dude, like a really, really weird guy. Like the stuff about like dirty clothes and like laundry being all over the place. You hear that about like geniuses all the time, that they're just like, they don't think about things like making your bed or cleaning your clothes. It's just so far beneath their intelligence. They don't even think about it. Yeah, you can make the case he was leaning into that, where he's like getting on private jets and meeting with congressmen with basically a garbage bag full of clothes.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think he's just a very, very strange guy.
Yeah, that's almost where he's so strange. Remember the first couple chapters when he's like, I'm looking past childhood? I dislike
in it, but looking
past. Very weird thought as a kid.
I would agree with that. The fact that it didn't seem like he had a real relationship with anybody else. Like it talks about his childhood, but there's no experiences there. There's really nobody to connect to. Kind of feeds into what I was saying before, is that I don't think he's like a super villain. I just think that he had zero connections, total loner, outcast, you name it. And then all of a sudden he's got billions and billions of dollars and everyone wants to be his friends. Yeah.
He's a very interesting character because there's so few people like him. Yeah. But I disagree with your characterization of him as a child, because he definitely did not like childhood. And he definitely did not like being a kid. He just has a very simplistic way of looking at the world through like a very mathematical sense. So I would say he's more simplistic than childlike.
There's no like morality to it. There's no ethics. There's no morality to it. It's simply the way they describe it is simply a calculation of what probability do you put on one situation versus another, and whichever one has a higher probability based on these effective altruist principles, that's what you choose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's probably what makes him seem like more of a monster, is just that he's so unemotional and so calculating. Yeah, and to me, that's less monster-like than it would be if you were calculating and trying to get the worst outcome for other people.
Like Madoff. If you were actually Madoff running a Ponzi scheme.
I was thinking about other worse villains. It's hard in the financials. I guess Madoff is probably a good one. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other just like financial crooks out there. Or, I don't know, maybe like a bank robber. Who's maybe a bank robber. Yeah, historically financial crooks like that. I can't really think of too many other. Well, maybe Elizabeth Holmes actually, right? She knew what she was doing the whole time.
Yeah, she was just trying to fudge the product.
Yeah, so maybe she would be a better example of somebody like that. But yeah, I think his rise, the extremeness of his rise led to the extremeness of his character.
So basically what happened was it just seemed like Coinbase's CZ tweeted out that he had no
Binance's
CZ said he had no.
So were you following crypto at all back then during like the crazy 2021 period or after that when all this was happening?
Yeah, I think crypto was fun to follow.
Yeah. Like I remember reading that kind of as it was happening. Like all of a sudden FTX is going down, you hear about it. I remember seeing that CZ tweet saying he was coming in and then like turning back on it not long after and saying we're actually not doing this. And I remember kind of just sitting on the sidelines, just passively watching it all just like implode right in front of you. It was very, very interesting that this was all done not only like real time, but like social media real time. Right? That's even like realer than real time. It's like faster.
Well, he loved tweeting. Sam Bankman-Fried loved tweeting.
Yeah, I feel like everybody.
It seemed like he liked the publicity,
yeah,
but didn't like doing it. Like he's such a weird guy.
I know. I think in the moment, he liked it. Like he liked being in the spotlight. Like for example, he's in an interview, right? And they're telling him you're gonna get interviewed by Times Magazine. And I think like the person inside of him was just like, hey, people want to interview me. Like, how cool is that? I'm awesome. But then he gets in the interview. He's just like, there's a million other things that I'd rather be doing than sitting here talking to this person.
It's so, yeah. I think he's just trying to get more users to his platform. He wanted.
For sure. I think that's part of it.
That's what it came down to a lot.
Yeah,
he wanted the publicity. He talked about signing big endorsement deals just to get more people on the platform.
Yeah. And he was massively successful at that, even for a guy with no real marketing background. He just use social media just like thousands of other people do right now. And I'm not really big on social media, but the more people you have following you, the bigger your presence, the better you are at it.
Yeah, social media is a business. So whoever follows you helps your business.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like a standard bank run caused by CZ's lack of faith. And when the funds were at Alameda, no one could pull their funds out of FTX. And then that caused a crisis of confidence.
Yeah, I think it was in the bankruptcy proceedings. It may have come from SBF himself or somebody said, but this is what I think all bank failures say. They say, yeah, it was a liquidity crisis. It wasn't a bank failure. It was a liquidity crisis, which is a failure, but it's not like anything really broke. It's just that there was a run.
Yeah. And it was interesting that
tale is all this time. Like, you've seen it play out over and over again. That's what's interesting too. It's like this has been happening forever. And now it happened in the crypto industry too.
Well, the unique thing about them was that they were an exchange and a custodian.
Which is probably not good. They probably should have been doing that. Yeah.
But it was interesting that all the Alameda traders up until the end thought they were crushing it and making money.
No idea. Just thought they were doing their thing and crushing it. I think they probably were crushing it.
It's just when the funds left FTX and then the the confident the
when
confidence
it's when the perception of FTX came down,
cratered,
or
or
it lost some of its credibility. Yeah, and that's
Just
what really caused it.
that exacerbating spiral of you lose a couple people leave, then a couple more people leave.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing happened to Madoff when the
Yeah.
financial crisis happened. People tried to pull their money out, and they needed enough money. Obviously, he did it because he was illegally running a Ponzi scheme. But you don't think Sam? Here's also what who we're leaving off the hook. He had a staff around him that didn't have. He had no, head of controls, head of risk, head of operations really following the money.
Yeah. No, this is what I was saying before. It's just like, can you really get mad of like a kindergartner if you give him the keys to Charlie's Chocolate Factory and you let him run around? Like if you're a kid in a candy store, you gotta like, I don't know, put somebody at the counter to check people. Like you don't think like that. It's Candyland. It's just fun. It's made up. Like they talk about it a lot. Like they didn't want to bring grown-ups in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Like a kid doesn't want to bring grown-ups in the room. The way I kind of describe it, his intelligence was probably like off the chart, but his
EQ, IQ,
his social maturity was probably at like a second or a third grade level.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way to measure that. Like there's an IQ test. I don't know if you could measure the otherwise. That's probably what I would say.
I think it's IQ and EQ, emotional.
Oh, there is something for it. Okay, yeah. Well, if that's the case, then one is just crazy off the charts. The other one is way down low.
It sounds like you blame the investors more than you blame SBF. Or the users.
What are we blaming for? We're blaming the people who lost their money?
Yeah, who do you blame for the people who lost their money?
Who do I blame? If I put in like $1,000 onto the FTX exchange, who do I blame for them using their money? I blame SBF for that happening. I blame the people for expecting this not to happen.
Wow.
I mean, if you're playing in the crypto worlds, especially at that time with something like FTX, sure, they're on the Miami arena. Sure, you see them on TV all the time. Tom Brady says he puts his money with them, fine. But you don't even need the fine print to know that this is all Wild West still. Like this is all absolute Wild West kind of craziness. It was not the same as putting your money in a bank, even though we've seen people put money in their banks and lose that money too. So no, I kind of disagree that there should be any all the blame should be on SBF. But if I had lost money in FTX, I'd probably be blaming myself pretty good too.
I know someone who lost money on FTX, and
they hate SBF and think that.
He mentioned it when it all went down. I ran into him on the subway.
He's taking the subway instead of his private car.
Yeah, exactly. the personal Escalade driver wasn't there to pick him up that day, so he ran. He was in the subway with the rest of us. Okay, that's interesting. I think I blame the company almost entirely, 95%. I won't go 99. I'll go 95%.
Yeah, I mean part of it, but then if you're making that case, then you have to blame the people who are actually the cause of FTX going down, and that's all your other investors for pulling their money out. If nobody pulled their money out, it wouldn't have failed.
Yeah. But if some people pull their money out and you have controls in place, then you're fine.
Sure. But it's happened so much. Like, but why were people pulling their money out?
Yeah, it's such a fickle world, every security is so fickle in that what is like the
slippery.
The crypto industry. Yeah.
It's a very slippery slope.
They talk about 3 times how he would sell FTT tokens for like 20 cents and they go up to $80 in 2 weeks. And he was like, I wish I didn't sell that.
I know that part was pretty funny. And that his like big regret is he didn't list them at a higher price.
Yeah.
Initially, when he was just basically, making something up. Yeah. That was crazy.
Well, that's what I thought it was initially, that it was people were using FTT tokens as collateral. And when that collapsed, they didn't have enough collateral to back it. But it seemed like that wasn't the case. because Michael Lewis says that
Tito could still had there was still value out there to be had.
or that it was just found value because they went up so much they didn't really anticipate using it as collateral on their trading.
Well,
And
I think
so
it's
when it
also
went down,
who was using it as collateral, right? So if SBF was using it as collateral, he obviously like couldn't go out there and sell FTT because he had so much, like you couldn't sell that much without triggering the whole market for him.
Yeah.
And again, that's why you think you normally have lenders who would be able to lend to you and people to give you liquidity and things like that. But 2021 crypto world just like didn't have that yet. There was SBF, there was not Coinbase, the Binance guy, and a couple other like big whales out there, huge players. But I think Genesis was the name of another one that they talked about, but there wasn't enough out there.
Yeah. Okay. We want to get into, I mean, everyone around him is they're all super smart, but super odd people.
I would be curious to see how smart they actually are too, because it wasn't like they were. I mean, there were some people in the back end, like the one guy whose name I forgot, who was like the coding guy.
Yeah, Gary Wang or Gary Wang.
Yeah, okay. The other guys just seemed like poker players. Like when they were talking about him at Jane Street, like they just seem like I don't know if they're super smart people. They probably are, but they're also like just very good at seeing odds and gambling.
Yeah. Those Jane Street chapters were probably the highlight of the book. I thought that was so interesting.
They did? Highlight of the book? Oh, I like the whole book. But that was a cool part.
Unexpected highlight of the book. I did not expect him to go so much into Jane Street. I thought it was going to be a lot of FTX.
Yeah, I remember I listened to a podcast with SBF when he was at this peak of his powers, basically. And I guess that's kind of why I have a little bit of a bias where I don't hate him so much. Because on this podcast, he was basically saying a lot of the stuff is BS. He was basically saying what crypto is, you put your money in a shoebox and you trust somebody not to take your money out of that shoebox or burn the shoebox or whatever you want to do. But when he was speaking that way, it just seemed like he was a gamer. He was just trading. This was play stuff.
If you're the holder of the shoebox, it's upon you to protect the shoebox.
Why?
Because that's what people put their valuables in that shoebox.
I'm not a bank.
He was a bank. He was a custodian bank.
But not. He wasn't like a regulated custodian bank.
He was a foreign. He was a foreign custodian.
That's kind of crazy too to think about, like how many countries that they were in and all the different laws around it. Like that's amazing that it got so deep and so far in such a short amount of time.
This book definitely could have been longer because I would love to hear.
I'm glad it wasn't though. I'm glad it wasn't. I liked it for what it was.
It's a quick read.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we got to move to Bahamas. They do a little bit of just like setting up of looking for the facilities, but like, how do you move an entire company that's a multi-billion, it's worth billions of dollars?
What's amazing is like the president or governor of whatever Bahamas was like, yeah, I'll open up whatever you want.
I know.
And that wasn't the only head of state that wanted him and said, come on over. We're open to crypto. And if we want to be the home of FTX, it was amazing.
Okay. A couple other things I have written down. What do you think about him trying to influence government to the extent in which he did?
I feel like our government was asking him a lot of stuff. And that's kind of shame on you, our government. Because it seems like he was there.
I don't think our government feels shame, but go ahead.
It seems like he was there by invitation.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a little sketchy. Well, not even sketchy. That's a little scary. Because I picture all like these senators, congressmen, 70-year-old, 80-year-old white guys and girls asking this crypto trader to help define what the legal status of crypto trading should be in this country. Like that's like asking the fox how to set up the chicken coop.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, why don't you just leave this back door open just to give him a little extra air kind of thing. So that was a little sketchy.
His two pet projects were pandemic prevention and election fortification. And not once was it mentioned, okay, how do non-billionaires feel about these? What is the impact on the life of average Americans? It's like
It's
this guy has
interesting
billions of dollars overnight, and now he can just determine how our country is run.
Yeah, it just kind of goes to show you that money talks too. Like
Oh
if you
yeah,
have money and throwing around the type of money that he did, you can influence whatever the heck you want without having any like experience, knowledge of it, or anything.
do you also think that he would throw hundreds of millions of dollars, and just the gears of Washington turn so slowly that they would just be like, "Hey, we'll take your money, but not a lot's going to happen."
Yeah, I think the $100 million was first off pocket change. So
Yes.
like A, who really cares? And B, I think it was like buying friends. If he gives this senator $100 million for this, in like a month, if he needs to, he can call that senator, and that senator's gonna pick up the phone and talk to him. I think he was just buying influence and friendships.
He was definitely looking for regulatory capture, that they would be the only crypto exchange, you know, in America, the largest crypto exchange in America, and then he just crowded out all other competitors because
Yeah,
he was one who had the favor of the U.S. government.
yeah. He was, and he is still, or was, the main figure you think about. The guy at Coinbase, I think his name is Brian Armstrong, is up there also,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if he was to the extent SBF was.
Yeah,
He was of the most respected person in the industry.
correct.
Yeah.
Or when, let's say 2002, Sam Bankman-Fried was a much bigger name.
Say it again.
In 2002, before the downfall,
2022.
Yeah, was a bigger name.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Okay, I don't have much more. I thought this was pretty good. I wish he challenged Sam Bankman-Fried about what I said earlier. If you're going to live effective altruism, how do you justify living in a multi-million-dollar complex when you're supposed to be giving everything away and living to the bare of your means?
Yeah, I again, I would say that it's like the ends is greater than the means. So could he have like let like just lived on the street with a computer system and done all this? His ends would have been capped so much for that. He needed a bigger place. He needed the influence. Now, does he need to take private jets to spend all that money? Probably not. But it was just drops in the bucket compared to the money that he thought he was going to be able to, spread the wealth around.
Yeah, but I would say you're being disingenuous if you're not. Before you start spreading the money around, you say, "Hey, I'm going to start spreading this money around that I'm just absolutely vacuuming up."
But so
Please
where do you draw the
I'm currently
line?
living my life, but I'll give it away eventually.
Where do you draw the line though? So do all effective altruists have to live like
Yeah.
with nothing?
Yeah.
So like take a vow of poverty, basically.
Correct. Yeah, like whatever. Who are the Dominican friars or St. Ignatius? Didn't he? He's a wealthy man, and then he just lived in poverty as a
give it all away.
traveling permit. Yes,
Okay.
I did.
If I'm being devil's advocate and speaking on his behalf, I would probably say I'm not going to get respect in this industry if I'm like that. I'm going to get respect in this industry if I have my own island and my own planes and all my other stuff. And that's how this is going to grow more.
Okay. The godfather of this movement, Pierce Singer, he definitely lives extremely modestly. I think he's
was this the guy? He was originally like the speaker of the college.
Yeah, he was at Princeton. He's a professor.
Princeton? Yeah, I thought it was Stanford. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We actually
studied him very modestly.
Go ahead.
He lives very modestly.
I believe, yeah.
And what's his net worth?
Oh, I think he lives on a teacher's salary and donates it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying also. It's like the dollars that we're talking about are just so different. Whereas because of the amount of money that he was making, I think Sam Bankman-Fried gets to kind of do whatever he wants from the effective altruist, because by doing so, he's creating these unfathomable amounts of money.
I don't think the scale of your income can change your ethics or morals in this pursuit.
They don't have ethics or morals.
That's my argument. They don't have ethics or morals. Right. This is all.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I agree. This isn't ethical or moral. It's just probabilities. It's what can I do to give the greatest influence per dollar, per resource, per whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. Final point would be like, I'm going to do the most amount of good with this because I believe in giving all my money away. If you believe in giving all your money away, give all your money away.
But if you give all your money away today, let's say you have $100,000, you've given $100,000. Let's say you don't give all your money away today and you make as much money as you can. And then 10 years from now, you've got $1 million. Isn't that better?
I would argue yes. I think that's a fair point. But I would also argue that there's maybe a middle ground. So I would say you can live in a modest, 2-bedroom home.
Didn't need a private island. Didn't need
Toyota Corolla, and you don't need like a bike. I think there's a way to live modestly.
I would agree with you there, but I feel like he was spending pennies. Like the amount of money he was spending on the private island is probably the same percentage as that teacher spends on his groceries.
Yeah.
Like we are just talking about tens and tens of billions of dollars in a very short amount of time.
That's fair. I think I don't know if you've convinced me, but I see the other side a little bit better.
Yeah.
If you don't live that way, I don't believe that you'll do that in the end.
Yeah, the thing that I don't really get about it is that so he was a trader at Jane Street, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a winner or a loser to those trades. It's not, hey, we both are going to win at this. It's
not investment, it's trading. Yeah.
And he knew that. And that's what he was good at. He was good at like finding those weaknesses and things. So isn't that like kind of the opposite of effective altruist? Or you're all right with beating someone to help others, I guess? So if I beat one person but save two, is that better? Probably.
Yeah, I think Lewis talks about this a bit. He kind of framed all of the counterparties on the other side of the trades as guys who would use that money to buy Porsches and homes in the Hamptons and
got
jets.
So yeah, he was Robin Hood. He was stealing from the rich and trying to give to the poor.
Yeah, I think that's how he thought of him. Again, I don't know if he thinks of himself that poetically.
I don't think so either. Not at all. We're calculating.
Yeah. All right. Got anything else? This is a good discussion. I like this. This book was. I liked it more than I thought I would. I thought I was going to absolutely hate him, and I disliked him.
I was very impressed with because I didn't know the story behind it. I was very impressed that Michael Lewis was given this inroad.
Unbelievable access.
And to publish it also. That's also kind of curious. I wonder how much he couldn't publish because of like the legal battle that's going on. I wonder if there's a good amount that he couldn't publish.
Don't quote me, but on the podcast, I'm pretty sure he said he had
This was an open book. Yeah.
Carte blanche.
Yeah.
The book did come out, was published before the results of the trial. Sam Bankman-Fried was found guilty on all 7 counts, including fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering.
What's he in jail for?
I didn't write that down. I can look quickly.
Nah, don't worry about it. It's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to go first on the grade?
Yeah, I was looking at the other grades to see where I put this compared to the other ones. And I think I was settling in at I think I'm settling in at a 7 flat.
Wow.
My criteria is fun, like interesting subject. Yes. Quick, easy read. Yes. Something that you could see somebody just picking up on a weekend and just jumping into. Yes. Like it's a very easy topic, a very good, quick read, interesting character. Yeah, this is like a 7 for me.
Yeah, for the viewers, I'll go over the rubric one more time. We roughly give 10.0 to 9.0 must read, 8.9 to 7.0 should read, 6.9 to 5.0. Read if you are interested in the topic.
Yep.
4.9 to 3.0. We don't recommend reading. And 2.9 to 0.0. We couldn't get through it. Toss it.
Yeah, this to me is definitely. I would tell people whether or not they're interested that this is a good read. Like if people said, "Hey, which Michael Lewis books do you like?" This is definitely up there for me.
So you put it on basically the should read if interested in the topic order. 7.0.
I would say the being interested in the topic shouldn't matter all that much. You could enjoy this book either way.
Okay, yeah. So then it should be higher because it's pretty close.
Let's not go too crazy. I think 7's fine.
I think I'm good with that. I think I'm good with 7.0. I'll give it that.
Because a lot of it, I mean, I think it was very interesting because I was interested in this, but there's some people who probably still to this day haven't heard of SBF.
Yeah.
Or FTX, or maybe they saw it somewhere in a joke and they thought that's all it was. Yeah,
I'm gonna go 7.8, basically right in the heart of should read.
Yeah, I think this is a definite should read.
I think because it was quick read. Obviously, we said it multiple times. Quick reads we're more generous in scoring them.
And quick reads meaning not just a short book, but easy to get through.
He's a great writer. I mean,
he's a very good writer. Yeah,
I've knocked Michael Lewis a couple times in this show. I don't think he challenged SBF enough. I don't think he held his feet to the fire in a couple different topics. But the man can write. Yeah,
I would say you save that for congressional interviews and things like that, or if SBF comes on 60 Minutes, they can ask those hard-hitting questions. I think Michael Lewis kept it familiar. Seemed like SBF was open enough with him to share a lot, so that's probably part of it.
Mm-hmm. I would think that Michael Lewis does consider himself investigative, though. I don't know how much.
He sells a lot of books.
The man sells a lot of books.
The man sells a lot of books.
All right. Let's do next week.
And I wanted to look at that because I think we have next week, right? We're doing
On the Road, Jack Kerouac.
Jack Kerouac, yeah. But let's lock in something for the following one.
Okay.
I was thinking, I don't know, we're going to be in January, so I don't know if there's something timing of the year there that we want to jump into. But I was looking through our lists and starting from the top down. I was thinking we could do 1776 for a little American Revolution. We haven't done anything going back to that time frame yet. Or if we want to keep it like on the gambling kind of fun side of things, Bringing Down the House would fit in nicely with what we just read.
Well, we're going to be doing On the Road in between, so it's going to be a little gap between gambling.
Correct. A little break.
Oh, only 4. Yeah, let's just do 1776. Let's get it might be close to President's Day. When is President's Day in February or January? I never know.
I get them all mixed up. I'm going to say February.
But MLK's in there too. I don't know.
MLK's coming up.
All right. But is that January or February?
That's January.
Oh, speaking of presidents, did you hear what so this will transition us into the nonsense portion of the show?
Yeah.
Your pet project might be going through.
Continue before I sound like a jerk. You mean that for President Carter, the day off?
I lost it. What happened?
Do you mean the day off?
I heard about that too.
If you're talking about the day off, not working off for you, then I'm upset. Because January 9th, so it's already set right now. So the day off is January 9th.
Yeah. I'm talking about a totally different thing, but we'll go with yours.
Oh, what are you talking about?
Daylight savings.
Oh, is it possible or probable?
Might be on the chopping block.
Yeah, I've heard that too many times. I'll believe it when I see it.
You don't want to get
that actually happens. I will be very happy. But that does actually kind of filter into what I was saying. So what I was saying was that Jimmy Carter just passed away. And I have been awaiting this moment for a long time because it's well known that markets close, it's a day off. And for the past 2 years, I've been hoping that days off comes in golf season. So I could just have a banger of a day out on the golf course to celebrate the fallen president. This year, it's January 9th.
You're a big Juneteenth guy.
I'm still going to try and play golf on January 9th, but it's just not going to be the same as if it was like a Thursday in April or May.
That's an absolute lunatic move to play golf on January 9th.
We'll see how cold it is.
What's the cutoff?
40?
40's cold.
40 depending on like wetness more than anything else. Like if it was snowing the night before, then obviously no good. But if it's dry, 40, I could do that.
You know what? I don't think it depends on wetness. I think it depends on wind.
Winds, yeah, like a cold wind would suck.
Yeah. It's a long day on the course, cold, your balls blowing all over the place.
We have a week to see. I don't trust weather reports a week in advance. I need to be closest to the actual date, so we'll see.
Are weather reports getting better? It used to be
I don't pay any attention. I don't pay attention until like 2 days before.
Ever since my wedding, I've been like a big 10-day forecast guy. I love looking at 10-day.
I just don't believe it.
I get my hopes up.
No, yeah, and I don't. I do the exact opposite.
You're like, I can't plan anything because I don't know what the weather's going to be, or I can't look
10 days in terms of weather. There's just too much variability there.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if there is. I think they kind of got it nailed.
If you are getting better, that would be news to me, but I wouldn't know because I don't look.
All right, well, maybe we'll run a blind experiment. You'll see if it's.
We'll do an experiment right now. Let me know what you think of the weather for January 9th, and then come January 7th, I'll let you know if it's golf weather.
Okay, I'll make a prediction right now if you play golf or not on January 9th. I'm going to just use New York as the weather.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. January 9th is
outdoors.
Is in 2 Thursdays.
It's a week from Thursday. 2 weeks from Thursday? No. Yeah, a week from Thursday.
I'm going to predict you do not play golf because it is too cold.
Too cold. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying sub 40. Wow.
Yeah, with room to spare. I think it's going to be too cold.
All right. If you're saying way into it, fine.
Okay.
What does it say right now? What does it say?
I better not see you out on the course with this parka.
What does it say the temperature should be in New York?
High of 33, low of 22.
Yeah, I'm not playing golf if it's that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see.
Okay.
Fantasy. You made the playoffs, went down to defeat. I think that happened. Our buddy Ferry won the league. He's come in second 4 times, maybe. Yeah, in the 15 years we've had the league.
Since we're going kind of off topic here, let's just jump into something. What do you think about auction versus regular?
I pray we do auction. I don't think we'll ever do it.
Is it that much of a commitment? I feel like it's a big commitment.
It's just so cool. It's just so cool that
how long does the draft take? How much time and effort do you have to put into it?
I asked Matthew Berry this question live and in person at Nerd Alert.
Oh yeah, what did he say?
He said auction is better. I just think
for a guy who's a fantasy football professional, that's what he gets paid. Gotcha.
Well, your big thing was time. How much time does he have to?
That's every day. Yeah, 20
every day for him.
Yeah.
I just think it's cool. I'm in 3 snake draft leagues. I just think it'd be fun to do one different one. I don't think we'll convince our league to switch.
I mean, I would vote no, but I wouldn't put up a stink and leave if it was a yes across the board.
Yeah, well, if you're bringing it up and we don't have your vote, then I think me and Ferry are the only ones who want to be auctioned.
Good. Yeah, let's keep it that way. Yeah, I just can't. It's then you're playing poker then basically come draft night.
I just think it's fun to see who paid what for what players.
Yeah, no, that just seems like, why don't we just I don't know, start an investment club and start valuing stocks together.
Yeah, I think snake draft a lot is determined upon where you're drafting. If you don't have the first pick, you can't get a top running back.
It's a lot of luck. Yes.
And auction is less luck.
I prefer the luck. There's just there's too much and everything else where there is no luck. And so you just have to struggle for it or learn about it. I prefer the luck aspect.
Yeah, that's
When it
fair.
comes to fantasy football, I prefer the luck.
Fantasy, I was 13-1 in the regular season in my home league. Lost in the championship.
It sucks.
Yeah. Well, won my family league though with all of our wives and everything. So yippee for that.
So you can still strut yourself when you're walking around the house.
Exactly. Take that, Monica.
If there was any other fantasy sport that I was interested in, I would say, why don't we like give it a shot with like an auction league, just like
That's fair.
See how it goes. But there's no other sport that I would be interested in.
No, I wouldn't. I have no interest in playing fantasy baseball, basketball.
No, nothing else.
Other football, real football. What do you think about the Giants win?
I'm not as like outraged as other fans are. It was stupid, but it's so typical Giants stupid that like is what it is. But I watched like a decent portion of that game. It was stupid. Does it do any? People who say it was crushing are saying it for the wrong reason. The wrong reason is not because they were going to get the best quarterback with the number 1 overall pick, because we've seen too many times. It's just not a known certainty.
Correct.
The certainty is you could trade the number 1 overall pick for a lot more than the number 3 pick or the 4th pick.
I don't think this regime survives if they trade out of the quarterback slot and one of these quarterbacks becomes good. Not even very good. Good.
Well, I'm just saying that the people are like mad at the wrong reason. They're mad not because the Giants have the number 1 pick to take the first player. They should be mad that the Giants have the number 1 pick because now they can't trade the number 1 pick.
Now they just have a pick with less value. You think they are losing value in their pick?
Yes. And again, it's not because the first quarterback could be much worse than the third quarterback taken. Like nobody knows that, whatever. Mm-hmm. But you could trade that first pick for much more than you could trade the third pick.
I obviously agree with you. Obviously, the first pick is more valuable than the 4th or 5th pick. But I don't think that it's like saying filet mignon is better than, Spam. It's fact, but they were taking the filet mignon. They're not trying to trade the filet mignon for, grilled chicken, fried chicken, seafood platter. They were taking
because we have a bad organization.
I think these guys are trying to save their jobs.
Yeah, I would have the number 1 pick would have made me feel good inside looking into the season. It would have felt good because this team is awful, and that would be like a demerit on their permanent record. Like this team was that bad. Now it's like, hey, we weren't the worst, so we can hang our hats on that at least. So I don't like that. No, it didn't do anything for me. It didn't make me feel better about the coaching staff. Didn't make me feel better about any of the players. It didn't make me feel better about anything. And not that it's meaningless, but yeah, I mean, they say like you coach and you play to like win every game.
You play to win the game, Herm Edwards.
Great quote. I don't think Daboll has put this team in position to win many games this year. I think his record, like coming off a bye, is horrible. I think his whole it seemed like he wanted to get rid of Daniel Jones so desperately, but then he's flopping between Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito, and he's just all over the place. So yeah, I don't think this does anything for them. It doesn't prove anything to me. They had a whole season to prove anything, and they didn't. Yeah,
let's wait one more week, and then I'll share my thoughts on the current regime. We're going a little long, and we'll see how.
You'll get it after Week 18 when we get smacked by the backups of Philadelphia. You think the Giants are going to win?
I don't want them to. I like them winning one game just to get out of.
When was the last time they beat Philadelphia?
No, they beat them last year in Week 18.
Wasn't that a made up game? Like a game that didn't matter?
Correct. Yeah, Philly was a 1 seed.
That does count.
Yeah.
Talk about it. When was the last time they beat Philadelphia in a game that mattered?
5 or 6 years.
Yeah, but this one does matter. Yeah, well, we'll see. I'm probably not going to watch it either way.
Yeah, I barely watch. I barely watch it, I think neighbors look good. Obviously, he's dirty.
I don't know why Indianapolis couldn't tackle him. It was like he was on fire or something like that. He was getting throwing the ball within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage, and he was scoring touchdowns. Didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm happy they won. I'm happy they won this week. I do not want them to win next week. I don't want the pick to fall further. Yeah.
This draft doesn't do it for me anyway. I think this team stinks, and they have a lot bigger problems than just a couple players that they can get this draft.
All right, we'll see you next week for On the Road, and then Giants commiseration on one of the worst seasons in team history.
On the road, Week 18 NFL, probably a little college stuff we'll throw in there. Yeah, that all sounds good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the college playoffs tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah, me too, actually. That'll be a fun way to kind of kick off the playoff season.
Mm-hmm.
Just to jump in with this with the real college playoffs and then NFL playoffs I'm looking forward to.
All right, man. It's good to be back next week on the road.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.